Hey, 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 rSpace fans. As we're getting closer to the holidays, we've got a couple of stories that could probably use a pick-me-up. Anyway, let's see what's going on, and then maybe you guys can leave some advice down in the comments. Let's get started. First up, agreeing to an open relationship was the worst mistake of my life. I, 27 male, had been together with my ex-fiancée, 25 female, for 7 years. We had both come out of toxic relationships when we met, and while things were difficult in the beginning, we were really happy together. We were best friends. We loved all the same things, and our sex life was amazing. I loved her with all of my heart, and at the time, I truly thought I had found my soulmate. We jumped from place to place. Being two young adults with not much income, I was the only one working full-time for the majority of our relationship. And whenever we felt like we had found our forever home, something would come up and make us have to move. We lived in a small basement apartment that was perfect for just the two of us. But then she got pregnant with our daughter, and we were eventually forced to move to a larger 2-bedroom apartment that was, realistically, more than we could afford due to me being the only one working full-time. But we took it because her mother had a connection to the super of the building and was able to get us in with only the first month's rent. We might as well have been paying for a 1-bedroom though, due to our daughter co-sleeping with us. She had since birth on my ex's insistence. Of course, having a baby sleeping in the same bed with you is bound to kill your sex life. And yeah, it did. But it sort of went deeper than that. I began to feel less and less like a romantic partner to her, and more like a roommate who just also happened to be the father of her child. I brought it up to her multiple times, but she would always say the same thing. That's just how I am. I don't mean to be. And no, I don't think she was cheating at this time, because she was basically a stay-at-home mom at this point, only working 2 or 3 times a week. Finally, our financial situation got to the point where we couldn't live in the apartment anymore and had to move to a different province to live with her family. I didn't really want to. I didn't really want to leave my family behind, but I felt like we had no choice. She hated it here, always made that perfectly clear, and her family knew how to sell the idea to her. So we moved. We lived there for 6 months, and they were the worst 6 months of my life. Her family was terrible, and I hated living there. My ex and I were fighting more than ever, and finally, near the end, she asked if we could try an open relationship. I was an idiot and said yes. Not because I wanted to, but because I just wanted her to be happy. I wanted nothing more than for her to be happy. Looking back on it now, I see how stupid it was. She was looking for permission to cheat, and I gave it to her. She knew people through her family, people she could have a relationship with. I knew no one, basically. I was isolated. Finally, we come to March. I returned to my home province with my daughter for a vacation, and then COVID hit. We got essentially trapped since our return flight got canceled. It gave me time to see things with some clarity. The second day I was visiting, my birthday, she told me about how she had this massive cyber orgy on Discord, sent me screenshots. I blew it off like it was nothing. Then she told me she was starting to develop feelings for some kid, I say kid because he's literally 19, that she met on Minecraft, who lives in a completely different country. Again, I blew it off, told her to do whatever makes her happy. I tried to ignore the pain and just try to enjoy what I thought at the time was the limited time I had to spend with my family. The breaking point finally came when she told me that she told this kid that me and her were separated. We weren't. We were still engaged, and had planned on getting married in the summer before the whole COVID thing happened. When I confronted her about it, she lied, kept changing the story. I meant by distance. I thought we were on a break. Okay, Ross. That's a Friends reference in case you didn't understand. Check it out. Just any excuse she could make. I finally had enough, and I broke up with her. Currently trying to get custody of my daughter, who luckily is still with me. I wish that's where the story ended, though. I can't stand her. I feel like I wasted 7 years of my life with the only thing to show for it being my beautiful daughter. But I can't get away from her as long as I want my daughter in my life. I have to see how she flaunts over her new boyfriend. She ended up dating the 19-year-old kid right after we broke up. Like, right after. Gushing over him on Facebook. She's currently in his country right now visiting him, and somehow she managed to get a place in the province we were living in with her parents despite the fact that the 6 months we lived there, we couldn't find anything. She has no job, yet got this place. She's having the time of her life. Meanwhile, I'm here, having been a single father for almost a year now, living with my mother and trying to rebuild my life while trying to do right by my daughter, who is the only thing who has kept me going this entire time. I'm over my ex now, but I resent her so much for so many different things. Agreeing to an open relationship was the catalyst that got me out of a bad relationship, but now it seems like every time I start to feel better about myself, about my life, she one-ups me with her crap. I just don't know what to do anymore. What do you all think happened? I'm thinking the family never wanted him to be with her anyway, and this was just a way to sever the ties. What do you think? Anyway, moving on to the next one. I'm no longer in love. I am so unhappy. Is this a phase? Does love ever come back? This is gonna be dark, I can tell already. It's been 3 years of unhappiness, and I've only known him for 4. Just reading this sentence makes me want to slap myself awake and want to stop typing. But here's my story, just in case I feel insecure about my decision again. We met after I ended things with a narcissistic ex. That was my type since 16. I've mistaken narcissism for being manly for years. I thought I learned from my past mistakes in choosing him, a quiet, soft-spoken, semi-introvert like myself. He seemed to respect me. It was so honest even in his little boyish games compared to my cheating, lying exes. He was extremely proud to have me as a girlfriend, wanted to show me off to all his friends and family, so I played the part of being the perfect girlfriend. He was not comfortable making new friends, so I ended up joining his circle and abandoning mine. My friends and family were understanding and were okay with just being with me via text. Little by little, I lost my identity. Around 3 months of dating, I began to realize he has an ego problem beneath his introverted facade and a drinking problem. First off, I love to drink. My late father taught me how to taste wine and how to pair something with everything. I am a happy drunk. I only drink when I feel happy. I stop when I know I should, and I don't black out. He, on the other hand, pees on my mattress and on me after he blacks out. He would cuss at me if we got into fights while intoxicated, kick me out of our house. I moved in after 6 months of dating at 4 a.m. because winning any disagreement is more important to him than understanding my viewpoint. I've slept in my car at gas stations, on the street at 4 to 6 a.m. so many times I lost count, because after a few times it was embarrassing to check in nearby hotels at 5 a.m. He would go as childish as giving me the middle finger if he was so drunk he couldn't speak. But come morning, he would text and cry and beg and explain how wrong he was and that he will never do it again. I believed it time after time because I thought no one is perfect, and I was 34 and I should stop breaking up with men the moment I want to bail and start trying to build something for a change. To be fair, he was the perfect boyfriend on paper, or on Instagram in this day and age. He would take me to 5-star restaurants to celebrate occasions, buy me extravagant gifts, and post on social, and everyone cheers, while deep down inside, I preferred doing something I missed doing, like simply seeing the ocean. His mother is a complete narcissist, which I dumbly didn't find alarming due to the amount of narcs I've dated before. She would stay with us whenever she felt like visiting. 3 out of my 3 birthdays, she was staying with us, not to mention Christmas. I had to abandon my single mother to spend Christmas with his family for the past 3 years, because again, my family is understanding and tells me it's okay if his family is this demanding. Oh, and he proposed to me after 9 months of dating, after saying F you to me and kicking me out of the house again just 3 days before. I didn't say yes, but he put the ring on me and posted on Instagram and everyone congratulated us before I could utter the words, "I'm not comfortable with this." Yes, I sound crazy to oblige to a proposal I didn't consent to, but he was so excited and happy. I didn't know how to say F no in front of candles and roses and a smiling boyfriend. I don't know what's wrong with me. Slowly, I compromised more and more, to the point where it seemed like the new normal for me. I just went along with this perfect-looking relationship while I no longer knew who I was, until I had my baby. The week I found out I was pregnant, I was actually living in a hotel, due to another fight, and trying to find an apartment so I could move out and break up with him for good. But this pregnancy came, and I was completely thrown. At 34, I didn't know how to rationalize an abortion when all my friends were trying desperately to get pregnant through IVF or suffering miscarriages and praying for a miracle child. Not to mention the biological clock that felt engraved on my forehead every time I had to state my single unmarried age to anyone. I was so lost, but I thought I had to at least have the courtesy to tell him I was pregnant, then proceed to whatever the next step was. He was ecstatic and vowed to become a different human being. He said he would quit drinking with me. I got lost in his enthusiasm, and my uterus carrying something so fragile and foreign, I thought, okay, I will have this baby regardless of what happens to this relationship. He immediately told everyone I was pregnant. His parents were ecstatic. He said we have to get married before the baby. Being engaged and pregnant, already I really didn't see the reason to fight this. So I went to the courthouse and signed. Did not want a wedding though, because I just really didn't feel like I have any vows to say to him. Fast forward to now. My baby is the cutest thing, and regardless of how much he challenges my patience every day, I love him unconditionally. But my husband. After coming back from the hospital postpartum, I saw clearer and clearer how he will never be a protector for me. His parents came when I had the baby, stayed for 2 months, and were so rude, disrespectful, narcissistic, selfish, obnoxious during my recovery and my first 2 months of being a mother. I knew they contributed to my husband's finances, but that was when I realized they actually used that power to control my husband. I will spare the detail, but my mother-in-law straight up told me now that I am married into her family. As a daughter-in-law, I must obey them even if I disagree with them because they are elders. And my husband just sat beside me and said nothing to protect me while her lecture went on for 2 hours, less than 2 weeks of me postpartum. Ever since those 2 months postpartum, I've lost respect for my husband as a man. My in-laws have been demanding ever since, and I just numbly act polite and like a maid when they visit. Ever since I had the baby, we started drinking occasionally again, and he would go back to his old aggressive ways, fighting when drunk. Last time he drunkenly told me to get the F out of his house was 10 days ago, and I wasn't even shocked anymore. We've been sleeping in separate rooms since baby was 3 months old. I said I needed the rest, but I quickly realized how happy I was sleeping alone. Because even the sex has always been horrible to me, while great for him. I'm just so bad at any kind of confrontation while being a polite pleaser. My baby is almost 10 months old. I finally told my husband I want a divorce after one of his aggressive outbursts, and that we can be co-parents under one roof until we figure out what to do with our baby who needs familiarity and routine. He's finally seeing the nail in the coffin and has been over the top attentive and trying to change. I wish I cared. I don't even want marriage counseling at this point. I just want to be freed. I've worked all my life since 15, but now I'm currently a stay-at-home mom. I don't love the isolation, but I love how close I am with my baby. I love cooking my own baby food and seeing my baby every day. So many people, his friends, some mine, are telling me not to get divorced, that no marriage is perfect, that no one likes their in-laws, that all men are lazy. But is that really all there is? I'm so deeply afraid to opt out when he's acting like he will change everything to keep me, even telling parents to not visit. But I don't love him anymore. I hate what he put me through and how he knew and abused my weakness for his comfort. Will I somehow love him again and regret all this? I don't think I've loved him out of my free will for the longest time. Will I survive as a divorced single mom? His family is much richer than mine. I've never cared about money, but it is quite essential. Will life be worse for me and my baby? I don't want to act numb and compromise who I am anymore. I'm so afraid my child wouldn't know who I am really if I continued playing this role. I know I must sound so stupid asking these questions, but am I just thinking about this every night and cannot fall asleep without supplements and pills? Sometimes I wish I'm the one who's dealt the divorce card, so at least I'd have no choice in this matter. Update. I, 35 female, have already decided to divorce my husband, 34 male, over how spineless he is and how he failed to protect me during my postpartum period where my in-laws stayed with us for months. However, we are still living together so that we can co-parent since the baby is still less than a year old, and we are committed to stay cordial. My mother-in-law has been rude since day one of meeting her. She is narcissistic, rude, cannot stop talking about herself and how great she is, and every conversation is to show off how much money she has. Her all-time Hall of Fame story in my book is how she spins the story of how she hit a motorist, causing him to be handicapped for life, into a story how she saved a poor kid with no money, paying for his medical bills and getting him treated with her amazing connection to top surgeons. I really tried to brush it off before, even when she was rude to my mom, telling myself that she meant well, that's just how she talks, and reminding myself that at least she doesn't live in the same city. But ever since the birth of my son, somehow my existence threatened hers as the only mother in her household. She's been extra abusive towards me. During my recovery from childbirth, she would forbid me from holding my son, grab my crying son away from my arms without asking, telling me how I don't know what I'm doing and I should go back to bed and focus on pumping. She also made me pump instead of breastfeed so she can feed the baby herself. She would pass my baby around to everyone, my husband, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, father-in-law. Yes, that was how many in-laws who stayed in my house during my postpartum period. But she refused to let me hold my son. My husband had to sneak the baby into my room so that I could hold him. I was a mess, crying in my room constantly and wishing they would leave. There are too many horror stories. Maybe one day I'll share. Fast forward to now, almost a year later, and slowly growing my own spine, since my husband will probably never grow one. I've stopped politely replying in their family chat room, and as of yesterday, I finally left the chat room. Sounds silly, but felt huge to me. I have told the husband if they ever visit again, I will be going to a hotel and he will be responsible to serve them 24/7 while taking care of our son. Even though it's obvious we are getting divorced due to his family dynamics, My mother-in-law has never been confronted that she is the cause of this. Knowing her, she probably blames me for being an ungrateful wife and leaving her golden child and causing her to not be able to see her grandchild this holiday season. I personally would like as little contact with her as possible, but I also don't want to damage the relationship for my son's sake. What if he grows up enjoying a relationship with his grandparents? Mother-in-law does love him and treats him like her own baby. I don't want to be the person who makes my son choose between anyone when he's older. My question? Mother-in-law's birthday is coming up, and since it's the most important day in her world, it would be catastrophic if I don't acknowledge the day and at least send her a happy birthday text. But just thinking about doing it makes me feel so sick at myself and how weak I am even after months of self-therapy. Should I break no contact and send a text? It's just a simple text. Just taking the high road? Should I not let it bother me this much? My anxiety has definitely come back, and I haven't slept well debating this. None of my friends understand my struggle and thinks I should just play nice, which I agree to a degree. I'm hoping someone here will understand my pain. The fact that I'm making this big of a deal also makes me so angry at myself for giving her the power to affect me. Final update. A year ago around this time, I desperately posted to ask for help regarding my emotionally abusive JN mother-in-law. I received so much support and basically a good kick towards the right direction. I've since then divorced my significant other and divorced my JN mother-in-law. I remember the last time I posted here, I was in such an emotional turmoil and so blinded by the family rules that my significant other's whole family seems to abide by. I was afraid. I had a newborn. I was constantly doubting my own ability to fight for myself and my child against such an abusive force that everyone in the family is supposed to be afraid of. So here I am, 1 year later, with my sweet toddler, freed from the abuse and protected by terms that I've written in my custody agreement. I have lots of ridiculous stories to share, but maybe one day. But what I want to share first are the resources that I've gotten from my very expensive divorce lawyer, so you ladies don't have to pay for that. I want to help. It's the holiday season. Finding this community has helped me through some of my darkest times. I want to pay it forward. If you are struggling like I was a year ago, not having the slightest idea of how to start the divorce process, I will forward you all of my emails and forms that I received from my lawyer. I will send you a sample custody plan that I paid for. I will send you hugs. I will send you encouraging stories. Just to be clear, I had a very simple and uncontested divorce. I may not be able to help everyone, but if you and your significant other are on good terms, you just want to opt out of his JN family, or you want to do-it-yourself divorce, then let me know if you want any info just to prep yourself better. I'm in no way encouraging divorce as the solution, but if you are like me, who fell out of love because your significant other is incapable of speaking up to his mother, yet very capable of sacrificing you, then divorce is a glorious option. Finally, wishing you a Merry effing Christmas away from the toxic witches in your life. I know my heart is lighter, and I sleep damn well not knowing or caring what ex-mother-in-law thinks. Gosh, putting that X in front of her feels so good. Cheers! I know you rSpace fans are going to have some feedback about this one, so let's hear it. Until next time.